Okay, so I've started the recording. So what I'll do is I'll just give guys a very brief update on what we've been talking about the last couple of classes, as I usually do, just to summarize what we've been doing. And then this evening, I'm really excited to be transitioning into a guest speaker that we've invited, and I'll be introducing him into our conversation in a few minutes. So over the last 3 classes, let's say, we've been exploring the basic framework or environment in which project management is grounded in the international development sector. And we've been looking at some of the requirements of working in project management overseas, and even those characteristics that set us apart as strong project managers and what's required there of us. So we've looked at how funding is transferred from donors to host governments or host countries, and how the project fits within that international aid framework or those funding instruments that we were talking about. We've also covered the sustainable development goals now and how those affect the way that we design projects and implement them. So our focus was also on ensuring the participation and engagement of community stakeholders. And in particular, we spoke quite a bit about leaving no one behind, or those left behind in marginalized communities. Then last week, we started getting into the basics of monitoring and evaluation in a project and the importance of designing good result statements and indicators to inform management on decision-making, course corrections in your projects. And I finished last week also with a discussion on prepping you a little bit from my experience for your first field assignment, hypothetically, if you're heading out overseas, and understanding the importance of having a management methodology when you started an assignment with a project. So that's a bit about what we've been talking about up till now in a nutshell. And tonight, I'm really pleased to have with us Mr. Ansar Siddique, and he's going to be sharing his experience over the course of this evening. Mr. Siddique has been a development professional working in more than 20 years in various sectors of international development, and he's worked in more than 8 countries worldwide as well. He has a wide background in geospatial management information systems for knowledge management, and we talked about that last week as well, the monitoring, evaluation, and learning, project management, and both qualitative and quantitative survey and research methodologies. So he comes with a lot of experience. So that's just to name a few of his areas of expertise, and he has many more as well. He's currently working as the Deputy Chief of Party for the International Maize and Wheat Improvement Center, which is based in Dhaka, Bangladesh. And just personally, I first met Mr. Siddique on the Rural Maintenance Program, the RMP, and you remember I shared that with you back in our first class. He was the Monitoring Evaluation Manager on one of Canada's leading development initiatives. So what's going to happen is I'm going to moderate the discussions this evening and request that if any of you have questions or any comments throughout his presentation, just to put your comments in the chat box, or you can even interrupt by microphone. That worked pretty well last week. I'm sure he's going to be very happy to answer any and all questions as we go along. And I'm also going to call for a break of about, let's say 10 minutes when we hit the 8:15 p.m. mark, thereabouts. So in about an hour and 15 minutes from now. And I just want to let you know as well, before we get started, that unfortunately, Mr. Siddique and his wife were both tested positive for COVID this week. So they're suffering quite a bit, as you can imagine, from that. So I hope you'll join me in thanking him for his commitment coming on this evening, even though he must be feeling pretty awful having contracted COVID. So really, it's my pleasure to hand over the virtual floor to you, Mr. Siddique, and thanks for joining us.
Hey, good evening. So here I am.
Hi there.
It's great. Nice to see you, Dr. Tanner. So, yeah, you have briefed about me, but still I am feeling an urge to tell your students about our interaction and how we interact over the course of time, because I'm a great fan of our Nobel laureate Amartya Sen, who always, fight for the cause. He called it social capital. So I'm so happy that I know someone like Dr. Philip Tanner, and he has been a biggest, social capital for me, who helped me in enormous ways. So no matter like how bad I'm feeling tonight, but I'm so happy that I'm here with you. And this is really a fundamental thing that people from the developed countries, they will also know the views of a real-time practitioner to know about the development work, because the money that is going out from this country to really uh, produce some tremendous changes in the lives of many poor and disadvantaged people, that you really need to know. And when you will be putting your foot on the ground, then you'll see like, okay, I heard something like this before. So, yep, the Canadian SIDA funded project, like it was not a project actually. I'm sure Dr. Tanner has already discussed about the difference of projects and programs. So, RMP, which was led by Dr. Tanner in Bangladesh, like that was a humongous program and funded for more than 25 years by the government of Canada. And it was so impactful that till to date, UNDP, they are still implementing the similar modality in the field, because they have found that it is really impacting the lives of many disadvantaged rural women in Bangladesh. So that is the case where we first met. And of course, like there was another Canadian NGO where Dr. Tanner used to work. It is Christian Children's Fund of Canada, where he was the director for international development. So I got a chance to really interact with all the 6 country offices of CCFC that time to really help them putting an annual system in place for the country offices as well as to headquarter level. So that was also quite a bit of experience for me. However, I'll not really take much time to discuss about these things, but I need to tell you that my background was computer science and engineering. And when I started working for CARE at that time, I was just a very junior kind of a programmer. But Dr. Tanner found out that I have got a special knack on development. So probably I was the first and last person who basically got a scholarship from CARE USA, where Dr. Tanner had to fight a lot. He said it is Canadian money, it is not US's money. So it was a lot of story actually. So finally, the scholarship was made towards me, and I did a master's in development studies, and that basically gave me the strong kind of footage. And here I am today, and I'm managing around 6 development programs on the agriculture sector. Uh, my headquarters is currently based in Mexico. Texcoco is International Maize and Wheat Improvement Center, as Dr. Tanner has mentioned. So I just want to get into the topics now. And if Dr. Tanner, would you like to let me share my screen here?
I will take off mine. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
I
Okay.
think you should be able to now.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm ready to go
Perfect.
first.
I guess I should mention to everyone too that it's about 5 in the morning in Bangladesh because of the time difference. So just so people are aware that you're about 10 hours ahead there.
5 a.m. and with COVID. Wow.
Yeah, I know. Talk about commitment, right? He didn't want to miss talking to you guys.
Yeah, Dr. Tanner, you need to help me a bit. Like, you need to go to my name on the participant, and on the right side of my name, you'll be seeing that you will enable me to share my screen.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to make you co-host. Can I do that?
Yeah, that will be great. I'll be honored. Thank you.
Okay. Are you able to share now?
Yep, it's there. So I'm pretty much sure that it is there.
Yep.
So this is monitoring, evaluation, and learning. But this is a fundamental part of project management cycle. So I'm sure Dr. Tanner won't mind, like I will be going through a bit of the project management cycle too before getting into the detail of MEL. And when I'm talking about MEL, like you can understand that all my 20 years experience really put me on much pressure when I was putting things on the slides for you. I couldn't really drop anything. And I was thinking like as much as I can put together that I can deliver to you, it will be useful. So somewhat you may find it like a bit too much. I'm sure Dr. Tanner will be helping me, like will be asking to stop somewhere. And I have put my email address here, although it's official. Uh, Anytime you can drop me a few lines if you need any kind of clarification on any of the topics, because uh, the thing we are basically going to cover through this particular lecture will be of basically three folds. Like on the first section, I will be quickly going through the project management cycle where you'll be seeing 5 different phases of the project management, and then quickly I'll be taking some questions from you. I'm pretty much hopeful that you will be asking me some question on that. On the second part, basically, I'll be starting talking about MEL, the content of a standard MEL plan that is a key document for any project or program in the world, and that is basically preferred by almost all the development partners. When I'm talking about development partners, I'm basically mentioning the donors. Another thing is something like I'm pretty much sure like my English accent is not up to the mark. So whenever you will be finding any difficulties to understand what I am saying, please raise your hand. Uh, Definitely the channel will be seeing on there, and I'll try to clarify again. I'll try to repeat again. And after this second part, basically, I will quickly go through our third part where I'll be talking about survey design, data collection methodology, not through the guided slides. It's based on my experience. I'll try to discuss with you about these things, and I'll be on the go. I'll be showing you a few documents and things. And on the second part is for your information, if it is okay with Dr. Tanner, I'd like to go into a breakout session, because I am seeing that we are just 8 person here current present. So we'll divide ourselves 4 by 4. So when we'll go to the breakout session, we'll be doing a bit of group work, group exercise on something. I hope that will be interesting to you too. Yeah. So that is the overview that you have seen here. So if you look into this particular cycle, uh, you can see that identification and design is something which is really fundamental. For a project, like it doesn't really start automatically. To initiate any project, like it's about the production engineer kind of thing, uh, it it will require man, it will require money, it will require the land, something like that. So for any project initiation, you also need that human resource, you need the funding. This kind of issues will be coming there. As we are talking a bit about that humongous rural maintenance program, I can just tell you one small experience that will help you to understand the identification and design phase. So one of the key component of that particular program was called income generating component. So those rural destitute women there in Bangladesh, they used to save every day around 10 cents, and 10 cents maybe not that much of a money, but every day 10 cents, and it used to run for 4 years, 365 days, 4 years, and 10 cents. That basically was giving them a bit of money, and they were not really sure like where they'll be investing that particular savings, there basically came like, again from Canada, it was Bata who were linked with this program. And we in a team, we designed a small pilot initiative. I'd like to request you to remember this thing. Pilot initiative is something that before going for a robust scale up, we need to do things, for a testing phase. And that particular project that we designed out of that humongous project was called Rural Sales Program. So you will be amazed to know that one of Care Bangladesh's largest program now is on milk value chain that has been developed out of this particular small initiative of rural sales program. So where it came from? It came from the monitoring data. The monitoring data could suggest the leadership management of that project that, okay, you have a base of these many women who are saving this amount of money. And in rural context of Bangladesh, this is really not that small. You can really guide them to start something big in a cumulative way. If 10 or 20 women come together, and that multiplied amount will let them do something entrepreneurial, and that entrepreneurial uh, thing is still there. And INGOs like Care Bangladesh, they are still being implementing. This is one kind of identification and design thing that I told you. But mostly how all other projects starts is something like all the development partners, basically when they go to a developing country, they call it development country cooperation strategy, that basically they set for 3 to 5 years in a country. So these CDCS guide the NGOs and INGOs to plan to implement certain project. They circulate in a way that they ask the INGOs that you can really bid for this kind of a project. We are going to fund this year on this particular thematic area. So if it goes with the organizational philosophy and policy, then they will start, writing a proposal based on the requirement by the donor. So this is basically identification and design thing that I wanted to tell you. And there, if everything goes right, the next phase comes is to concept node development. This is basically not a project proposal. It's not an elaborated paper or report like that. It is a two-pager kind of a thing where you will be basically telling the story that this is my concept. I think that this causal relationship uh, will be helping certain initiative to be successful, and which will be aligned to the CDCS of that particular development partner from whom you are basically going to seek the fund to implement the project or initiate a project. And when I'm saying about project proposal, it is a very elaborated document where you need to really set the goal, objectives of a project. You need to determine how much money you will be requiring, what will be the human resource that will be required to implement that particular project. This is an elaborated document with a Gantt chart. I'm sure like we'll get a chance to discuss about Gantt chart. We'll be getting a chance to discuss about project management software and how easily you can build a critical path method. This kind of thing will be coming. Uh, and the last part on the design phase will be contract negotiation. Like when you are writing a proposal, you may come up with a budget of maybe $10 million you need to implement a project for five years, every year $2 million. But development partners who is funding, they may think like this year, like they can really give you $8 million. So there you need to negotiate hard to get the required amount of money. So that is another level of skill. Definitely somewhere it will be discussed also in your course, I'm pretty much sure. So the next phase of project management cycle is basically planning. And when I'm saying of the planning is like, foremost important thing is governance set up. You need to have a project charter where you will have all the key positions of a project listed down with their roles and responsibility and what authority they will be holding over the period of this project time. Then you will have the detailed direct work planning, indirect work planning. You will have the internal authorization metrics. You will have to set up a knowledge and data management plan. And very recently, like during our initial days, like I'm talking back like 20 years back, didn't we didn't really uh, uh, practice to develop an environmental management plan. We call it EMP, but this is now very much fundamental. Most of the development partners, they will be asking for an environmental mitigation and monitoring plan during the governance setup period, you know. So that is something also very much interlinked with all these particular setup. When you'll be doing the governance setup, you'll have to do that. Phase three is basically implementation, monitoring, and adapting. So when I'm talking about this, let me go back here. Like you can see that the circle in between phase three and phase four is like monitoring and evaluation. And now maybe it's a trend from last 5 years that all the donors, they have started practicing the learning part. Most importantly, it's like I was sharing with Dr. Tanner a few days back, like, you know, they are calling it now CLA, but the CLA that I will be using in this particular lecture today will be a different CLA. But the CLA I'm talking now is something like it is collaborative and learning and adaptation. So you know what, this is not any development ventures. This never came from a development initiative. It it has been it has been practiced in the US embassies around the world. In the embassies, they used to, you know, do it like, okay, if this kind of people will come for a visa, a student visa to USA, what they are producing sometime, maybe in Bangladesh context or a developing country context, they produce fake paper. So what are the fake papers that they usually receive? They make a database, and based on that they have generate a learning platform for all other visa officers. So this is something like, this is observation, this is record keeping, and this is summarization, and then basically the learning will come. And that CLA now, USAID in their MEL plan, I'm sorry I'm taking the name of USAID all the ways because mostly all these 6 projects now I am seeing, 4 of them are directly funded by either USAID Washington or USAID Bangladesh. So I have been too much involved with the USAID MEL framework now these days. So this CLA things, the monitoring, evaluation, and learning. Why I come back to this particular circle is something like during your implementation phase, when I'm saying implementation phase, that means you have the required money, you have the required people hired, you have procured the vehicle, you have rent out the offices in different locations, so you are ready to go, you are ready to step into the ground. So as soon as you have started implementing a project, you really need to look into the things like what is happening, how things are happening. And as a MEL person, I'm sure like not all of us will be going to be an MEL expert in the coming days, but some of you may come. So uh, the point is something that who told me this, like monitoring people are like watchdogs. So it is a special quality that when you are in the field, your observation will change the world basically. Uh, I just want to cite another example here. So, you know, it's not the traditional development practitioner, but World Bank, Asian Development Bank, African Development Bank. These are the regional, financial institutions who basically work with the government system of a country. So I had a chance to work with Asian Development Bank in their education sector. So that time my portfolio was in primary education. So it was a total of 11 development partners jointly funded together. Uh, when I'm saying 11 partners, like it is World Bank, ADB, it was Canadian SIDA, it was UK aid, it was European Union, and it was a portfolio of $1.1 billion for just 5 years. And it's a huge investment. So in a joint field visit, uh, when all other development partners were taking various kind of reception by the school kids, I was working in the school, and in all the schools behind the principal's desk there was a big blackboard where they write information of how many teachers they have, how many students in each grade they do have, and how many students are present in that particular day. So after visiting 6 school, in the 7th school, I have determined that there is something wrong in grade 5, because I was seeing that in all other grades, there are around 45, 50 students who are present. But only in grade 5, in Bangladesh education system, secondary education starts from grade 6. And in grade 5, they need to take a scholarship exam, which will basically determine who will be getting a scholarship for the next 4 years in the high school. And only the best student, uh, they used to sit for that particular exam. And schools basically determined who are the best students. They used to bring them in at the end of the calendar year to teach them with special coaching and things so that they can grab the scholarship. So we used to call it a consortia. Consortium was 11 development partners. The consortium meeting, I just figured out those things. I showed them the picture of those blackboards. And immediately we decided that we'll stop the nationwide scholarship exam in grade 5. All the development partners, they agreed. Why? Because the rest of the 80% student of grade 5, they are not coming to the school. Automatically they are going to the high secondary school. So it is sort of a garbage in garbage out kind of a situation. And the pressure was tremendous from all the donors. So the government of Bangladesh, they agreed to eliminate that particular exam. Rather, we suggested to take the exam for all the students of primary school. Then it became the largest public examination in Bangladesh, where 2 million pupils they participated. Now it's a continuous process. Every year this examination takes place, but during this particular year for COVID, this exam will not happen. But this was a simple monitoring findings through observation that took place. And basically what happened is uh, it was during the project implementation time these changes happen. So whatever project planning you are doing, it's not really written on the stone. It will have to be changed based on the requirement, the learning that the project people, project participant, they will be having. Based on that, it will have to be changed, it will have to be modified. So the importance of monitoring and evaluation is tremendous in this aspect. Maybe when we'll be talking more, we'll be seeing more examples. So I just want to take a question, not question, the feedback from maybe Dr. Tainer, or any of you can also respond, like, am I going too fast, or do you think that whatever I'm saying, these are contextually okay with you? Dr. Tainer.
Well, you're coming through very clearly, and I think it's very easy to understand. So I think we're fine. If anyone has any issue, you can say now. But I think it's pretty clear. Thank you. And by the way, I'll be putting in some text into the chat every now and then just to clarify things as you're speaking. So I may put some things there just to support you. Yeah.
That's tremendous, tremendous. Thank you. So uh, this is also an integral part, very, very important, reporting and evaluation. Basically, this is one of the key responsibility of the MEL personnel of a project. It's not only conducting survey or collecting data or analyzing the data. It is about translating the data into information and those information into a readable format of report. And most of the donor, they do have templates for technical report and financial report. For your understanding, these two versions of reports are like financial report. The name itself is telling you the fact that it will basically tell the donor how much the project has received so far, how much they have spent so far. And in this development world now, people are planning for smart investment and talking about value for money, to ensure value for money, that whatever they are investing, whether that is at all a smart investment or not. So financial reports are of various format, and definitely there will be some finance manager to do that kind of thing. But when I'm talking about the technical report, basically that will be talking about like the big hope that we gave to the donor during the project designing phase. uh, Donor would like to see periodically like how far we have reached to that particular targets that was basically set by us. And mostly it's a common practice that in a year, the donors will be looking for two reports. One is a 6 monthly one that you can call semi-annual report. Another one is annual report, which will tell you the story of the entire 12 months. And when I'm talking about annual planning, it is something like this planning is very important in a sense like uh, it's not the plan for the project implementation only. It is about project monitoring plan, project implementation plan, project financing plan, project procurement plan. Every year you need to do those kind of things. And this should be done through a consultative group. And that consultative group, that we call them stakeholders. And I'll be showing you in the coming slides, you'll be seeing like how you will be identifying the stakeholders who will be influential for your project. So sort of a stakeholder mapping kind of thing. Most importantly, development project, those are aimed to really work for the disadvantaged people, marginalized people. So I'm talking about that particular community, you know. So when we'll be doing this kind of planning, it is called, largely known by the development practitioner as CLA. It is a differential A, is the community-led approach, community-led development initiative, where it is not something like donor will be telling you, okay, this 5 years, coming 5 years, I'm going to give you $50 million for education. Now go and spend the money on education. So it is called a top-down approach, that, okay, my donor has asked me to do this, then I'll have the money and I'll instruct my official in the field workplace that, okay, you are supposed to do this. So this is a top-down approach which didn't really work in the last decades. That's why I don't know whether Dr. Tanner referred you to the Robert Chambers. So Robert Chambers is a key player, and all the materials from Robert Chambers are free to download, free to read. You can go to that. I would suggest to go there. Social mapping and community-led approach are key in that particular thing. However, my point was something like I'm talking about the planning, and in the planning, you need to involve the community in every sphere of your planning. You're planning the project, go to the community, and those parts will be coming. But I am trying to putting emphasis here because probably I'm talking much and I'm still recovering with short breathing kind of thing. So if I start getting derailed, just you should get me back and you need to tell me like you told me that you will be talking about CLA elaborately. Where is the stakeholder consultation so that I'll not forget? However, now come to the point of evaluation and learning. It is something like mostly during the project planning session, uh, it is their plan that an evaluation will be conducted at the end of the project. Mostly, I'm saying mostly, at the end of the project, it will be done by external evaluator so that it will be bias free. When I'm saying bias free, that you can understand that your monitoring staff or your project staff. So sometime when he will be observing things, he or she may come up with a biased result that okay, we are implementing these things. If it goes wrong, then it's a problem for us. So donors' preference is to really conduct an external evaluation at the end of every project. But the project itself, during the MEL planning, they also keep midterm evaluation in place. They also keep, diagnostic studies in place. It will be during the implementation phases in year one, in year two, in year three for a standard 5-year project. So there will be diagnostic studies and midterm evaluation may be conducted by the project itself. When I'm saying project, it will be the project's MEL team. We can talk about the MEL team structure also a bit, like how does it look like? So the last part is of a project definitely is the exit strategy that you need to predetermine. It should not be something like 5 years we'll be working and all of a sudden we'll be closing down our office and go away. It's not going to happen. However, I just want to give another keyword. Like, I'm sorry, maybe I'm trying to put Dr. Tanner into much pressure, but don't forget to ask him about change management. It was one of his key success in Bangladesh as a foreign national who, who basically led a humongous task. Let me tell you clearly. Okay, this will give you sort of an understanding of a large complex programming. So here Bangladesh had around 30 different program and projects when we were working together. It was uh, early 2000. Yeah. So the point was something like here Bangladesh had total staff of around 10,000 and RMP, where Dr. Tanner was the leader, he had a total staff number of 6,800, which means the organization's 70% staff's leader was Dr. Tanner. And in Bangladesh, CARE was led not by CARE Canada. It was, I'm talking about a bit political philosophy of a different game ball. I'm sure because somebody was telling Dr. Tanner that you were watching the presidential debate yesterday, although I really don't understand the electoral system there. It's difficult. But the political economy was something like it was the largest program financially and with the human resource. If someone want to see that, they will understand that okay, RMP is bigger than CARE. The then country director of CARE USA, he was a ex military, Steve Wallace. I can recall his name still. So Steve Wallace, he couldn't take it easily, so he requested Tanner that no, it cannot move like this. Like you need to reduce the number of staff here. So what happened? It cannot be done overnight, but we really cut the staff size. We downsized it to 2,000, and on the national, all the national media, electronic media, everywhere this was a news, because all those staff who were not there with us anymore, they started, protesting on the street with their kids and family. They were crying with banner and things. So it was a huge game ball that time. So how basically you'll be coping up with the changed management scenario? Don't forget to get a bit of highlights in that thing. So basically, when a project will be ending, you know what? It is not that the project is actually ending. It is something that you are withdrawing the support from a community. The community uh, has got used to get a support from this external project like an umbrella. All of a sudden, you cannot just remove it. You need to have the right kind of plan. What next? When will not be there? What next? How that will be moving forward? I have given you the examples of at least two small projects which are still at large, like scaled up and being implemented by UN bodies even. So there were perfect kind of planning, documentation that, okay, I did this on this community and this has really impactful result, which is documented here in this report. And that's what I'm saying, that this kind of documentation will help the future programmers to program or replicate the learning into their project. These are important things, and you really need to look for, like, when you are seeing that particular identification and design phase on phase one, what is happening, you see, I'm saying that seek a potential next phase, seek a potential next phase. So it is not something like, let me tell you another experience, that I'm working for CIMIT, which is a part of the CGIAR system. Okay, it is consultative group for international agricultural research. You heard the name of IRRI, IRRI, stationed at Manila, Philippines. They work with rice. We are stationed in Mexico. We deal with maize and wheat. It's all research work to support the nation so that we can ensure food security. There are similar, at least 18 organizations, including World Fish, World Potato Center. There are many actually. So CISA, that acronym, of course, you don't need to remember. It stands for Cereal Systems Initiative for South Asia. So one of my program, again, it works for Bangladesh, then India and Nepal. So it's the, like, in Nepal is the Tarai mostly. Then in the downstream, if you see the map, sometime, like, you don't need to see that. Then you'll be seeing Bihar and then Dinajpur, the northern stream of Bangladesh. So in this region we work. So that particular project started in 2007, and now this is 2020. And still, USAID Washington is funding the program. Why? Because the impact is phenomenal, and food security is still a prime concern of USAID. And they still think that through this program and through this prestigious research institute, they can still carry on. And when Obama was there in the White House, that time he initiated the FTF initiative. That you may heard this, or in the long run you'll be hearing it. He has made this as institution. Apart from USAID, main body is the Feed the Future. So Feed the Future initiative is largely working in Africa and all the other, underdeveloped, underserved countries to ensure the food security in every aspect. So I salute for that particular initiative. So that is still going on. So I'm so sorry that this slide has come, but for sure, like, I need to grab a coffee uh, because of this COVID, my sleep has gone. I have breathing problem. I have sneezing problem. So I need to take a bit of coffee. So it is ready, because everybody else in my home, they're in deep sleep. So Dr. Tanner, if you allow me, can I just take a 2 minutes break?
Why don't we take 5 minutes And
Oh my God.
and please don't worry if you need a few of those every 20 minutes or so. I think we understand.
No, 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 no. I'm so happy for the 5 minutes. Thank you
Okay,
so
so
much.
thank you. And then we'll take 5 minutes, guys, and give some of you a chance to eat as well. I think you just rushed back to from work. So, okay, see you in five
Okay.
minutes. Thank you. Alrighty, I think we're ready to get back and started. I think Mr. Siddique is back with us. Maybe just flip your video on, guys, if you're back at your desk, because some of you had it turned off. So I know you're back. Oh, there we go. Okay, great. Okay, I think we're good to go. If you'd like to proceed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm sure like you can still recall the project initiation part, right? So how does that happen actually? Like now we are trying to see the entire projects with the lens of an MEL expert, okay? Like we are not anymore a project leader or a finance manager or a like, you know, any other development practitioner. We are just MEL practitioner. So the thing is something like we need to basically uh, have an initial need assessment, right? The term you can remember it's called initial need assessment, and there basically it will come to the place of the community people. Like let us consider that whatever development initiative we have with us that we'll be taking forward for a particular community. When I'm saying this, I'm basically saying to really involve that particular community uh, on the assessment so that it will not be your observation only. Their participation will be very much essential because they need to admit and address that yes, the need that you are identifying, we are also okay with it, we agree on this. Then only they will own the particular project initiative. So we'll elaborate again this thing in the coming slides probably, but before that I need to tell you one term which is called uh, log frame. Log frame is something probably I'll be telling you many other terms of this particular thing, log frame, but this was the uh, long uh, this has a long, what I should say, the word, I don't know, Dr. Tenner, it has a heredity, probably this is the right word, I don't know. Like for decades, the development practitioners, they use the log frame. And then it started getting modified again by Canadian CIDA. Uh, uh, Dr. Tenner may write like what is CIDA so that they will know. So Canadian CIDA basically start redesigning the very standard lock frame, which was in practice for 25 years, probably, not less than that, actually. So, uh, what Canadian CIDA suggested, and I'm very lucky that I used to, not I used to, basically, I got the chance to participate in a training initiated by Canadian CIDA on RBMLFA. When I am saying RBM stands for Result Based Management, and LFA stands for Logical Framework Analysis. So, logical framework analysis that we'll be seeing in the coming in the coming slides, but that will be the fundamental or that will be the basis to frame in your thoughts related to monitoring, evaluation, and learning. So this is very, very important. And after designing the log frame, you will be basically designing the MNE. So MNE planning, MNE is for monitoring and evaluation. I have told you already that learning basically came into place not not more than 5 years back, maybe 3 to 5 years. So M&E planning is something that will let you have a detailed plan of your monitoring and evaluation. And on that particular plan, the first thing that you will be doing is conducting a baseline study. I will be citing an example. This is the most, what should I say, exciting opportunity in my life that I got with CCFC Canada. Um, it will, when I'll be saying this particular experience, it will let you see things from a global perspective. So CCFC, Dr. Tanner, you need to hop in if I say something wrong. Uh, so CCFC Canada, that was mostly dealing with child uh, child rights, child health, child education kind of things. And it was a part of Global Child Fund Alliance. And CCFC Canada planned to make their long-range strategic plan. To do that, they had to get the current situation. I'm talking back like 2011. That time, CCFC thought they will be doing a long-range strategic plan for the next 5 years for the organization. For that, they started conducting a baseline survey in all its 6 operational country offices, uh, which were situated in Western Africa, Burkina Faso, Ghana, Ethiopia, in India, and in Latin America, like Paraguay and Nicaragua. So what was the purpose? The purpose was the Global Child Fund Alliance, they have some mandate. They have their philosophical stand on things. They have prioritized like what will be key focus area for the coming years. Then the organization like CCFC, they also determine their standings. But to determine their standing, they had to get the data, initial data, that is year zero, as I'm talking about next 5 years. So the first year when they were conducting the baseline study, it was year zero. And the data that they got may be like how many kids in India in that particular percentage are going to school. Maybe the percentage was 40%. So for India, CCFC had to set their focus like, okay, after 5 years of time in India, the students' enrollment rate will go to a higher level of around 70%. So based on the baseline funding, they are determining their project target. I hope you are understanding, and if you are not uh, comfortable with the discussion, you can tell me anytime. Uh, and these are like, okay, as Dr. has said just about the indicators. So yes, of course. So when I said the enrollment rate in primary education, so this is one indicator. Another indicator, like how many of the kids were having proper sanitary facility. It may sound weird to you, but in the real world, in the underdeveloped countries, it is also a matter to fight and achieve the access to proper sanitation. So these are the few of indicators, like the questionnaire. I don't know whether I'll be getting chance, but I can show, like when I'll be talking about the survey methodologies, that time I may show you the questionnaire that we use to conduct the baseline survey. So baseline survey will basically help you determine the targets for the coming years. And midterm evaluation, we have already talked about this on the MEL plan of any standard projects. They basically keep the provision of conducting midterm evaluation. And final evaluation or the end line surveys are basically conducted after the project. it may even happen after 2 years or after 5 years of completion of a project, the final evaluation. Because through the final evaluation, they want to see the impact. And when I'm saying the impact, I'm sure on the later couple of slides, we'll be seeing like impact that is basically targeting whom the direct project reaches, there's the beneficiary, or it is the society, or it is the country. This segmentation will be very important to know also. And after the final evaluation, it's about dissemination, use of lessons, and possible longitudinal evaluation for that. And the donors basically can determine after the end line evaluation that yes, we want to have a follow-up evaluation even after 5 more years again, because the impact that will be coming may take more time to really see the result of the intervention, which was implemented in maybe 15 years back. They may want to see the impact. So this is the MEL cycle that you have seen, and I want to tell you that MEL plan basically is the Bible for any MEL practitioner. For any project, you need to have an MEL plan in place that will guide you, the project leaders, project managers, to see like where they are supposed to go and where they are now, and whether they are moving the right direction. This kind of knowledge they will be getting from your MEL plan. On an MEL plan, you are going to see so many jargons. On the chat box, like Dr. Tanner has already written about many jargons, and the same thing has different names for different donors. So PMP is a common terminology used by USAID, and it means performance management plan. When I am talking about performance management framework, this is basically used by Canadian CIDA. When I'm talking about KPIs, these are basically handled by almost all the European donors, key performance indicators. I'm talking about result framework, which has been a key tool for at least, last 10 years for USAID. Now they have turned back to the theories of change and result chain that we'll be seeing in the next slide. So why this document is important? This document is important because this will supplement by answering frequently asked questions about the relationships between the PMF, then the MEL plan, then the activity plans from each other, and how they relate to each other during planning and implementation. That will be determined, or that can be used to know these kind of answers from this document. And primary audience for these MEL plans are basically the donor representatives, the project leaders, project managers, MEL managers. They will be using this thing. Uh, I have basically missed one thing. Let me go here 1 second. I took a note. Uh, I don't know whether it is visible to you. Uh, so talking when I talked about the MEL, basically I took this note to tell you. I took it from the USAID's Learning Lab. You can keep note of this. They have a rich library on MEL, USAID Learning Lab. So the purpose of monitoring, evaluation, and learning practices is to apply knowledge gained from evidence and analysis to improve development outcomes and ensure accountability for the resources used to achieve them. Don't go with the numbers, ADS reference numbers is not important. And before we plan our activities, we need to know what we are trying to do. it's really important. Before we plan our activities, we need to know what we are trying to do and what we need to learn to ensure that the data we collect will help us make the decision. Your MEL data will be key for the project leads to make decisions, to bring in changes into an ongoing projects and programs. So this is the purpose of MEL that we really need to know and acknowledge. Okay, so let me go back again. Sorry, I'm just looking to the chat box if there is anything for me. No, okay, sorry. Thank you, Dr. Tanner. This is useful. Yeah. So content of an MEL plan, this is like, on report, if you look into the table of contents, then you'll be seeing there is introduction. But for this particular introduction section of an MEL plan, basically they provide here the purpose and guiding principle for the document. Then they put the background of the project, how the project has been designed, and based on which philosophy they have designed this. And it also need to uh, link the donors CDCSs, that is, again I'm telling it, country development cooperation strategy. Although it is used by USAID, but all the donors globally, they have their principle for that particular country, that which one will be their focusing area for development. So CDCSs is important linkages to be built through the MEL plan. And next section of an MEL plan will be having the result framework. I have told you it is the thing that different names you'll be getting, but there you will have to put your development hypothesis, the internal linkage, like why your intervention will be really proven effective to uplift the lives of many in a disadvantaged community. The development hypothesis will have to be noted in this section. Then assumption and potential risk, when we'll be talking about block frame in the next slide, we'll be talking about that more elaborately. And objective and selection of indicators, this will be coming under this section. And then data collection and communication progress, there you will have to have your baseline data, you will have to have your target set it for all the selected indicators. Then you'll have to have the data collection methodology, how you'll be processing the data, whether the data will be analyzed automatically or it will be manual, analysis that will have to be done. Then how the data quality will be ensured, whether your MEL will be guided by a well-designated MIS system, that is, you will be using any computer-aided programming for that, and how the reporting will be done. Like when we talked about reporting, that time we said that donor has a mandate to get at least 2 reports in a year. Some of the donors may require 4 reports in a year, like every 3 months, they call it quarterly report. They may want that. Then you will have to have the MEL organogram. When we are talking about MEL organogram, like the people who work in MEL sector, like they basically comes from various faculties. My favorite is anthropology. Like the people whom I met so far who came from anthropology background, they are so good in MEL. uh, Statisticians, they also do a great kind of role in MEL, because they can predict, on statistics there are prediction models, like seeing a series of data they can predict things. Then sloppy people like a computer engineer like me, they sometimes proven to do well. Yeah, like 20 years I've served in this particular section, so not bad actually. And you basically need to set up your team in a way that you will have a team lead for MEL. You will have to have your operational MEL officer who will be going out to the field to see the real work. And you will have to have a statistician, you will have to have data entry clerk, you will have to have the data quality assurance people who will be going out to do the watchdog kind of thing, like the data that has been collected, whether those are properly collected or it is a cooked data. When I'm saying cooked data, like data can be cooked, like maybe I don't know whether sampling has already come to your lesson. So basically, if in a sample survey, you have a sample of 300 people, so maybe people go out to the field and collect data of 100 people, and rest 200, they will just guess, seeing the rest of the 100 that they have collected. So that is a problem. And that should be mitigated, and you need to have a built-in process that, yes, monitoring of monitors, that is also very, very important. So these are basically the MEL organogram, which in the practice level, when we'll be getting in, we'll be knowing more. Then the last chapter, we'll be talking about the evaluation and learning, how your evaluation will be conducted, which duration, whether it will be an line survey or it will be conducted after 2 years of the project completion. Then it will be the responsibility of the donor, because the project people will not be there after completion of the project. So this is basically the content of the MEL plan. Now I am getting into this log frame where we'll be working a bit. Just 1 second. There's okay. Yeah. I was just saying the checkbox. So now the point is something like, when we talked about, result chain, theory of change, like this is so much hierarchical, right? I'm saying hierarchical because you see that if you start following from the bottom, green one is activities. That is, if you carry out a set of activities, your intention is to achieve an output, right? If certain level of output will be achieved, then you will be looking to get an outcome. And if certain level of outcome will be achieved, then your overall goal for that particular project will be achieved. This is the logical consequences. And when I'm saying this, I basically talk about a bit of vertical linkages, right? This is vertical from bottom to up. And we'll be seeing the horizontal linkages too in the coming slides. And when I'm saying these activities, I'm saying about outputs, purpose, goal. I think like, I have one or two funny example, although funny, but these are taken from, my own experience, of course. So let me cite one particular intervention, very simple. So you are designing a project where you are saying that in a certain community, the population seems to be malnourished. Okay, so this is the problem, and your goal is to make a healthy population for that particular area. This is the goal. So I'll show you problem tree analysis and things, but let me let me tell it real quickly. So you know that people cook vegetable, right? So it is a tremendous finding that most of the people, they buy the vegetable, then they cut the vegetable, then they wash the vegetable, then they cook the vegetable. This is normal. So any one of you do you see any problem here? It's just to, engage you. Anyone. Whatever I have said, anyone can respond. Do you see a problem here? So you are going to a market, you are buying some vegetables, you are bringing it home, you are cutting the vegetables, washing them rightly, and then you're cooking them. Are you seeing any problem?
It might be in the order of things that you said.
Maybe, yeah.
You guys see anything odd in the order of that? Take a stab. Don't worry about embarrassing yourself. You won't.
Okay,
Everyone's
no
worried.
problem. And no problem, no problem. It's something like, this is the finding. The finding was something like, the vegetable should be, washed fast, then they will be cut and cooked. Why? Because after cutting, if they wash the vegetable, then most of the nutrients from that vegetable will be washed away. So it's a simple intervention that the project people will be going out to the community and ask them that, you need to first wash the vegetable and then cut and cook. Don't cut and wash, then all the nutrients will be go away. So this is the activity that you are doing. This is your intervention. That is, you are trying to train the community people that you need to wash the vegetable first and then you will be cut and cooked. So this is the simple message. And when you're monitoring, people will be going out and they will be asking those people, okay, can you tell me whether you will be cutting the vegetable first or you will be washing the vegetable first? If they can say it rightly that we should really wash the vegetable first, then your output has been achieved. That is, their knowledge level has been increased. Now they know that this is the standard thing that they need to do. But it has not achieved yet to the outcome level or the purpose level. Why? Because this is certain level of behavioral change. When I'm saying behavioral change, is something like that watchdog, the MEL person will have to go and they will have to observe that literally the person in the home who is cooking the vegetable, he is following the right steps. And if they see that, yes, the community people like, okay, X1 household is doing this, X2 is doing this, X3 is doing this, so maybe 80% of them are now washing the vegetable fast, then your outcome level indicators has achieved. And then if it is 80%, then you may really look into your goal target, like, okay, the entire community now know like what they should follow. So this is basically the vertical linkages. This is how it works. Now I am talking about this particular 16 cells, but again, here you can basically see the 16 cells here, right? Because this is a 4x4 matrix. You understand the matrix or tables. So this is 4x4, like you have 4 rows and 4 columns. So for goals, you need to write a summary narrative, like what is the goal of the project and what will be the indicators, what will be the means of verification for that particular indicator, whether the indicator is achieved or not. Then you will have to put your assumption and the risk factors here. So basically what you are seeing in the next slide is the first one. If you see that GNS1, cell 1, it is the goal and summary, that is higher objective to which this project along with others will contribute. Then it's about the, number two, the purpose. That is the outcome that I told you in the behavioral change. Number three is output, the immediate result after your intervention or input or activity. Certain level of outcome will be observed. And number four is your activity. That is the main actions that must be undertaken in order to accomplish the output. So just after implementing a certain activity, the output will be achieved. That we need to remember. Then number five is talking about the indicators. You need to state one sentence through which you will be basically defining the indicators, goal level indicators, then outcome level indicators, output level indicators, then activity level indicators. Activity level indicators is simple, like the project will be trained 200 household on vegetable cooking process. This is your activity. What is the output? At least 80% or 160 household members will be able to say what is the right process for vegetable cooking. These are I'm just trying to make indicators, like the indicators basically sound like this. So number nine will be talking about the program system. It's basically the means of verification, the indicator that you have set in the previous column, that how you will be verifying that yes, the indicators are achieved. So that is called MOV, or means of verification. So it is true for all these four rows, for activity, output, outcome, and your goal. And the last one is something like you basically need to set the risk factor and your uh, best of knowledge assumption based on the consultation with the community. You need to put certain assumption that yes, these things will happen after having a particular setup of things in place. So these risk factors will have to be determined for all these four stages, that is from bottom, like activity to output to outcome and impact level. So these are the 16 cells of an LFA. And I just want to
So hang on,
let's
maybe Mr. Siddique, if I could just interrupt you for 1 minute. Can you go back to the previous slide again? Yeah, there we go. So I just want to put this in context of what we've been talking about in previous classes, just so that you guys can connect the dots a little bit. So in Canada, we use a slightly different logic model. As he had mentioned, there's a universal logic model, which a lot of donors are using, like European Union and USAID. This is a very common one used by USAID. In Canada, when you use the results-based management framework, which we'll be talking about after the reading week, we will be talking about activities. That's the A at the bottom. Outputs, so that part is the same. But the next part, which is purpose, we divide in Canada into immediate outcomes and intermediate outcomes. And we talked about the difference of those two things before. And then the goal is the ultimate outcome in our framework. So you can see that essentially what he's describing is the same process in principle. So the activity, as I had mentioned earlier, the activity is, just to put it in a different context, if you were doing a classroom rehabilitation and doing training, you would say that an activity would be to pull all the inputs together to build a classroom, and the activity could also be carrying out training or carrying out a lesson for classes in school. The output would be the completed project or the completed activity. So the completion of the classroom would be an output, and the completion of a class would be an output. When it gets to the immediate outcome, what we'll be talking about later is an immediate outcome happens almost simultaneously with the output. So let's say the training has taken place and you have a cohort of people, students, who have now finished or completed the course. So you would run a pre and post test. When they come in, you would do a pre-test, that's like your baseline, check what their knowledge level is. Then you would carry out the class. And then after the class, after a few weeks is finished, you would do a post test. And then you would measure the difference of how much they have learned. And basically that would be your result. So that would be an immediate outcome, is the level of increase of knowledge that they would have. And that would be your indicator under the P there. You would put an indicator. In our system, when we have an intermediate outcome, Global Affairs Canada added it because they want to see behavioral change as well. So they would say, okay, great, they learned something, they've increased their knowledge. Now we want to know, did they use that knowledge? Did they go out and actually, in practice, try to apply the knowledge that they learned? That would be an intermediate outcome. And then the ultimate outcome, or the goal that Mr. Siddique has mentioned here, is that high level thing, which normally one project can't actually achieve by itself. It has to be a collection of projects or initiatives in the community that lead towards a higher level outcome, like improved health, improved education, and improved behavioral change. So that's just, sorry to interrupt there, but that's just to put it in a little bit of context of what we talked about with the Canadian framework. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Tanner. It is really useful. Yep. So I was I was just thinking, like, the way I talk, like arrange the training, then the knowledge will improve, then the practice level will be changing. So would you mind, like, if we make a breakout session, like we are 9 person here, so maybe
So,
we'll be dividing. Yeah,
so
Dr. Tanner,
I'm
please
just
go on.
wondering, actually, because there's you and myself, that's two, and Asha is a teaching assistant, so she's not actually attending the course. She just looks after some logistics and helps me out in support. So there's actually six students on the class today. So I'm wondering, do you want to still break out, or shall we just stay in one plenary?
It is just to, probably 3 and 3 will be fine. Like yeah. So I'll still put myself, you and Asha into the groups. We'll be talking about anything. The world is in front of you. You need to give me this vertical linkage. Like you need to find out a particular activity that will resulting to an immediate output. And then, as Dr. Tanner has just mentioned about Canadian serious practice on, the LFA, that is the intermediate outcome. So up to this 3 level, if you can come up with 3 indicators, then it will be really useful. If the problem is understood to you, it is fine, or I'll request Dr. Tanner again to brief all of the participants here, like what we are looking.
Okay, so you want, just to clarify, you want to come out with some indicators or result statements? You just want the indicators, right?
I just want the indicators.
Okay, and for each level, or just?
For 3 levels.
For 3 levels.
Okay. Yeah, the input or activity, the output, and intermediate outcome or impact, whatever you define.
Okay. Great. I'll put us into those rooms. I'm going to join you with Alicia, Joshua, and Rebecca, and I'll join Nick, Sarah, and Vanessa. So let me see if I can do that. How much time do you want to spend, just so I have an idea?
We'll get there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been playing for years and I'm still learning, so.
It takes time to fiddle with this, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, we were just talking about my guitar behind me.
I saw that. Yeah, fantastic. Well, I've got mine here too. Do you want to have a jingle before we start?
I know 0 chords yet.
Oh, so it's just for show then. I like that.
I got it for Christmas and I was supposed to learn how to play, but I haven't yet.
Okay.
You got a guitar. I got like a trumpet here.
Nice.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
I have like a feather trumpet on the floor here, but.
Okay, so you're a brass guy. All right.
I
Like it. Okay, guys. Well, he didn't say how long we have. I'm guessing it's, like 10 minutes or so. I'll check back with him in a minute. What I thought, do you want to pick a sector that we can quickly sort of describe then the indicators for each of those levels? Do you want to pick a sector that you're interested in? It could be education, health, or water and sanitation. Or do you have a preference? Where's your interest area and which sectors are you more interested in?
My interest is things that have to do with the environment and how that plays a role in development.
Okay. So you're setting a really difficult log.
I know.
Environment's a really hard one, but I'm game.
You don't have to do it.
Okay.
Let's move on.
The easiest one is water. The hardest one is environment. So
let's do water then.
But no, totally up for the challenge for sure. Do you guys have a preference? Environment or water? What do you want to do?
it doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't matter with you. Okay, let's go water. We'll do environment later.
Yeah.
Okay, once we get used to all this. Okay, so water and sanitation then. So just going back to his 4x4 matrix, we've got the activities, the outputs, the outcomes. So what kind of activities would you say, like just a couple of activities that might happen in a water project? We could even say, like, keep it really simple and say it's like building a well, let's say.
Drilling the hole.
Okay. Yep. Drilling's an activity. Yeah.
You could have a water as a sort of electricity project, like some kind of dam or a generator of some kind.
Mhm.
Maybe.
Okay.
Like water. What are they called? Water wheel.
Yeah. Okay. So if we're building, like if we're drilling, that's what they call a borehole. It usually goes pretty deep so that you can access the ground table. So you definitely drilling would be one, and you could either have a generator or you could have a hand pump.
Hand pump, yeah.
Because sometimes generators, they cost money in a village and they wouldn't have the money for the diesel and that kind of thing.
Oh no, it would be like say there was some kind of stream. The stream would create the power, where it would have some kind of, if they had a battery of some kind to store the energy.
Okay, kind of more like a hydro type.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Okay, that's innovative.
Or it could be more like almost not a steam engine, but it didn't even have to store electricity. It could just be a water wheel that connects to something else to move it. It's
all right. Okay, sounds good. Yeah. So what else? Like one more activity, maybe. We could just say, because ultimately, if you've drilled that hole, Sarah, then you've got to build a well, right? There has to be some kind of infrastructure around that hole that you're pulling water up from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So those are some activities that you've listed. So he wanted indicators. So if you have those activities, what would be an indicator of each of those activities? Say one indicator each. To know that you've succeeded in doing that. The indicator is really just a measurement of those things you just said.
Well, for the drilling of the well, it could be that like you've hit the water table.
Okay. Actually, you know what? It's as simple as you just said. Drill the well.
You see the hole in the ground?
Drill one well. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Drill one hole. That's an activity.
See, I was going to clarify what you exactly meant by indicator, but it's very general.
Okay. Well, you're quantifying it. So first off, how many are you building? So you might say three. Let's say 3 wells. We're gonna drill. So you would say drill three wells or boreholes. Let's say. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So drill 3 boreholes. We won't go into specifics, but normally you would specify where you're building them, what the name of the community is, and that kind of thing, or specify what kind of borehole. But that's
you'd also have to figure out where there is actually water underground.
Exactly. Yeah. So what would you call that? Because that's another activity, right?
I wouldn't say research and planning, but like scouting of some kind.
Okay. Okay, so measure and
I-
scan.
I don't know how you would scout or find water unless you made miniature boreholes of some kind, or you knew where water was.
Okay. So that could be an activity, definitely. So scan and measure for the water table. It could even be something like hire a water engineer, right? That would be an activity as well. Yeah. So you know what I'm going to say here is don't overthink it. I mean, they are as simple as they sound, right? You just break out what you need to actually build the well, and then that's your activities. You just list them all out. That's all you do. Okay, so that's an activity. So what about at the output level then? And remember what I said is the activity is the complete, or the output is the completed activity. So how would you translate those indicators into an output indicator?
The water table has been found. Hit. Is
Yeah,
that?
sure. Yeah, water table located. Okay. Somebody writing this down. I'm
Oh,
going to ask one of you to probably
I
report
am.
back. So, oh, you
Oh,
are?
you are?
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
I'm typing it up as we go.
Okay, great. So I'll ask you to report back then. Okay.
Well, how can I share my screen?
If you want, yeah, you could do that.
Sorry, I thought you were writing it down because it looks like you were looking down there so often.
Well, I am just so I can remember, but I'm not going to report back.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Perfect. Okay.
Am I doing this right?
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Oh, that's really good. Yeah. No, excellent. Okay. So drilling 3 boreholes. Yeah. Build a well,
Did I just spell borehole?
or build 3 wells.
BOAR or BORE actually, isn't it? Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Love it. Okay. So your outputs then would be the completed indicators of your activity indicators, right? So for example, if you said build 3 wells, you would say 3 wells built.
Mhm.
Really that simple. Believe me, it's not always that simple. In this case, it is. That's why we chose water.
But just to make sure, I think I missed what he called this kind of graph. What's the whole graph together called, or
Logical framework analysis.
logic? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Okay.
Was this going here or was that supposed to go somewhere else?
Well, you can turn those into activities. So hire 3 or hire 1 water engineer. That could be an activity.
In indicator, is that where it's supposed to go?
Yeah, it could do. Yeah. Yeah. Under indicators for activities. Yeah. Activity indicators or any indicators are where you specify the quantity and the population group, right? Or the geographic area. So you're just more specific in terms of how you're writing the activity out.
So what is it supposed to be like drilling holes and then here it's drilling 3?
Yes, that would be drilling 3 boreholes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I see what you've done. Yeah, okay, you've put it over there. Yeah. Okay. Other activities you can also do is set up like water user management committees, you know, because once you've got the well built, you might want the village to actually maintain it. So that could be one of your activities as well, is set up a water user committee. I'm not going to say too much more because he's going to know that I'm cheating with you guys.
How do you spell committee?
TTEE.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, good enough. Good enough.
Do I have 3 T's in there? Yes,
Nope.
I do.
2
I
E's.
think it's 2 E's at the end.
Okay, so then,
Sure.
I think that's plenty for the activities, and so you've got a couple of activity indicators there. Now your outputs are the completed activity indicators. So if you said drill 3 boreholes, you would say 3 boreholes drilled. That would be the.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, and 3 wells built. So that just move that over.
Over to
The
here.
yeah, to the indicators. Yeah, that's it.
Then what goes into the summary square?
Yeah, he didn't ask us for that, so I think we can hold off doing that until we have the next lesson on logic model. So he just wanted the indicators for today.
I see. So all of this is going under here.
No, it's fine. You can leave it there for now. We were just sort of getting the hang of it. So he's just looking for that second column just for the indicators itself. Yeah. So go up to purpose now. And purpose is the outcomes. And you have immediate outcomes. Let's just stick with immediate outcomes right now. So what would be an outcome of drilling 3 or building 3 wells, let's say? What could be an outcome?
Access to water.
Beautiful. That's it. Bingo. Yeah. And in that case, again, you want to quantify all your indicators. So in this case, you would say how many people would have access to water. So 1 well might serve, 1,000 people, say. So 1,000 people have access to water. Okay.
So in this case, it would be 3,000.
In total, yeah. Yeah. There you go. Great. Okay. Now, if you want to go one step up now to that's what we call an immediate indicator. So you've built the well and people come. Build it and they will come. So that happened almost instantaneously when you built the well. So the next level up of outcomes is what will result because of the fact that you've given them access to water.
Sanitation would improve.
Right. Right. Yeah. And what would happen, what would you see happening that would improve sanitation?
Them having
Cleaner
water.
water?
Say it again, sorry.
Cleaner water?
Potentially, yeah. Potentially. You hope it is. What about what they do with the water, how they use the water? So now they have access to clean water because the well presumably is clean, we hope. And what would they do with it?
Use it?
Drink it, cook with it.
Okay. Yep, they would drink it and they would cook with it and potentially wash their hands with it. Right? Soap and clean water. Yeah. So that would be a behavioral change, right? Just building a well and having people come and draw the water doesn't actually guarantee that they're going to do anything better. Like he said, they might buy the vegetables, cut them up, then wash them and then cook them. So that's all wrong. So you would say that there has to be a behavioral change in the way people use the water. And that becomes your intermediate outcome. Yeah. So you could say just any one of those is good, but you could say 1,000 people wash their hands with soap and water. Times 3, right? Yeah. Now, just keep in mind, when you add an indicator like that, you have to have an activity that relates to it, okay? So if you're saying they're gonna wash their hands, they don't just automatically do it because they've never been doing it. So you're gonna say that they have to get training or socialization by the trainers to learn how to wash their hands effectively. So then you would go back in your log frame and you would add an activity that would say, we'll do training in how to wash hands and how to wash food appropriately, that kind of thing. Right? We don't have to do that now, but that's just to give you an idea.
So that would go in activities.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't have to now, but yeah, just so you know, footnote it that you'd have to, whatever you add there, you have to make sure there are activities to relate to it. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're gonna get kicked out pretty soon. So.
What's that 0?
That's 0. Are we gonna get kicked out then, or?
I
Oh, it's giving me an option. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna close because I think we've been 15 minutes. I think.
yes.
Mhm.
Okay, guys, we're gonna close. All right. I'll see you.
All right.
Oh no. Now what happened? I got trapped in the breakout room. That's quite frightening, actually. I thought I was the only one left. There we go. Iqbal, I think we're all back, and yeah, there we go. So back to you.
Yeah, we are all back. That's great. So it was a great session in our room. Like, what about your room, Dr. Tenner?
Fantastic. Yeah, we had a good discussion. Yeah, thank you.
So, okay,
I
in
think
our
we
group,
did.
basically, yeah, in our room, like everybody came up with one example by themselves, so it really helps them to build the logics. The vertical logic is really important. In the coming slides we'll be seeing more of that. I'm not sure whether my screen is still visible to you.
No, it's not. No, you have to share it again.
Oh yeah, okay. So we are here now. Sorry, it's not required probably, right? We are not going to really listen to the team again because both me and Dr. Tanner was there in the rooms and we have interacted already. So no sharing session will be required, I guess. Can I skip this?
Yeah, totally up to you. If you want to skip it, I'm sure they're raring to share their ideas, but I'll leave it to you to decide.
Okay, so I don't know, like from my room, like I don't know whether someone wants to share what they have discussed there, and from your room, maybe one can come up. Yeah, let's hear at least from 2%.
Okay. Yeah, great. Maybe breakout room 1 first. Shall we go to your group first?
In our breakout room, we discussed 2 examples. First, we used an example that I actually had experience with. We talked about building a church. I built a church alongside a group of others in Trinidad. And so we kind of broke it down in terms of what the activity was, which was training and building the church. The output then was the physical church was built, and then the immediate result from that was a church was used right away. It was also used to host a vacation Bible school, and it was used as like a community center as well. And then the doctor, he asked us to use an example about COVID and how we would kind of use an example of COVID in a certain area and what we would do with that. And so we all discussed how either we would set up a station in a local community where they can get their mask, get their gloves, get their facial protection, which would be the activity, and also have a section for them to test whether they have COVID or not. And then leading to the output would be they would know if they have COVID right away or not based on the test, if it was an immediate result or test. And then they would also have the protection that they need. And then the immediate result from that would be they're protected, and then people that they come in contact with are protected as well. And if they did get their COVID results as well, they would know, okay, I need to isolate for a certain amount of days to protect others around me. So that's what we discussed in our breakout group.
Great, fantastic. Exciting project too you're on, sounds like. Anyone from our group? I know we had a note taker.
Alrighty. So we went super simple and decided to, the activity was, so we wanted to build a well. So the indicator was drilling boreholes, building the wells, and then that was the activity. The outputs was 3 holes drilled and 3 wells built. The purpose was access to water for the people in the area and improve sanitation.
Good. Great.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for all your active participation. Basically, these are something like, on the go. The more we'll be practicing, the better will be our statements or the ability to construct uh, more meaningful indicators. Uh, this is the thumbs up rule. Like, you need to practice.
So Iqbal, just one thing I was thinking, if you would like to take a break, we can take 10 minutes just to give everyone in the class a little bit of a break, and then we can continue and finish up the lecture. What do you think? Would you like to take a break as well?
Just give me 5 seconds.
Sure.
Yeah, I think I need a break. Yeah. There's like, could you please give me an idea, Dr. Tena, like how long they can stay with me?
So the time now is 8:45, and the class is
Okay.
over at 9:35. So yeah, so basically,
Okay.
yeah, so after the break, we'll have 30, 35 minutes.
Frustrating.
Yeah, I know. There's never enough time. That's true. But I'm under strict orders from the university to make sure they get at least 10 minutes of break. So
Please ensure the break now. But yeah,
all right.
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, guys. So we'll be back. It's 8:43. So we'll be back at 8:53 sharp. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Okay, so hopefully we're getting everyone back. Yep. So we're ready to start. If Mr. Siddique, if you're all set there.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you.
Let me.
You're doing very well, by the way. Given that you have COVID, I'm extremely impressed. I really am.
Oh, thank you so much. I am basically overwhelmed and very happy that I have got the chance to talk with these young people who will be the future leader, definitely. Yeah, let me share my screen once more. Right. So, just don't get me wrong on this particular slide. Is I am going to talk about, of course, everything is about the logical framework that Dr. Tanner has already shared with you. You know the Canadian standard already. But how basically that thing is constructed, that you need to understand. That is like, the underlying process that you need to know. And I will try to convince you all on the fact that consultative process. Over the few next slides, I'll be talking about that. And here, whatever you are seeing is like I have taken this particular word several times. CDCS, the Country Development Cooperation Strategy, it is about the donor's philosophy or the priorities for a country. Okay, no matter which country you are going to work, maybe you are going to Ghana. So in Ghana, USAID has a different set of priority. When Canadian CIDA, they do have a different set of priority. When European Union, they do have a different set of priority, that is strategy to help develop the country, okay, to strengthen their capacity in many aspects where they will largely depend on various NGOs and INGOs to implement their strategies. And for that particular philosophy to make that happen, basically the donors, they set the development objectives that not health will be a priority probably for Canadian CIDA, but it is a major priority for USAID. Maybe child rights is a phenomenal kind of a strategic decision taken by the European Union. They want to invest large chunk of their, money on child rights, So thus basically they develop the development objectives. On those various objectives, you will have their stated intermediate results that Dr. Tanner just told you. On this Canadian logical framework, they talk about the intermediate outcomes that can be measurable being within the project during the project implementation time. You can measure that. On the log frame, I talked about the means of verification. So you will be able to set your means of verification for those intermediate results. And the sub-intermediate results are basically the results that will be made by you or the project or the MEL practitioner of the project. Those will be the set indicators for the projects. So this hierarchy is a bit complex to you maybe, but I'm going to make it easy. How? So this is basically something that I'm a big fan of this particular thing actually, because this is theories of change, and it sounds like we are talking about strong, astrophysics kind of thing, or maybe a Newton's third law kind of a thing. But in reality, it is very simple. So let us see it this way. Like, this is true story for me, that I am almost every day late for my work. I reach very late. Okay. So that is a problem for me. So why that happen? Uh, the response will be something like, it's from my home to the office. I need to face terrible traffic every day. Is this all? No. Basically, I also start for the office a bit late. Why? Because I wake up late and I basically take time every day to decide which cloth I'll be wearing today. So I myself can determine, at least four underlying causes for that particular problem to occur, that every day I'll be late to my office. And why these causes are there, we need to analyze, and we'll be reaching to the root causes of the problem. What are the root causes? Is something like, I go to bed very lately. Why? Because now these days I am becoming a great fan of Netflix. I watch anything and everything. And what more? You have already seen I drink lots of coffee. Lots of means lots of. I drink a lot of coffee. So caffeine stop me to go to bed. So the root causes are something like you have identified already, right? So how the theory of change basically being constructed, that we can see from here, like this, we call it causal pathway. What is a causal pathway? It's like the logical linkages, and mostly again USAID or FTF, the Feed the Future initiative, they call it, result chain. So you can, if it is visible in front of you, not with many text, like if you look into a traditional logical framework, then you will be seeing a text heavy matrix, which is, really difficult to read even. So if you have a picture like this in front of you, where you are seeing that, uh, okay, your main objective is get to work on time, right? The way we set our objective, goal or purpose, intermediate results, output, the activities. So if you can now recall those things, you'll be seeing your problem statement is basically suggesting you to construct your objective, that is get to work on time, which is basically constructed based on the problem, I am always late to work. Then let me come back to the immediate, that what will be the next result of the consequence in the vertical linkage here, that is take a different route to work to avoid the horrible traffic. I'm sure you are seeing both the left and right picture, so you can relate this. And what next? That is, leave the house earlier, because it is a problem that I leave the home late, because I wake up late and I cannot decide every day what I'll be wearing. So to eliminate that, I need to wake up earlier and I need to prepare my outfit the previous night. And to handle the root causes, that I go to bed, pretty late. So what I need to do, the intervention will be go to bed earlier. Can I do it easily? No, I need to really reduce the daily coffee intake. And I need to set a bedtime, stop watching Netflix or reduce watching Netflix. So this is your causal pathway that you have constructed, seeing your problem, the causes and underlying root causes basically let you construct this particular matrix. And now I can guarantee you that uh, if you see it in a steady way, you will be able to construct your logical framework in any format, literally, because you know what are the activity, and after having those activities or inputs in your life, you will have these immediate changes which will let you reach your target goal to reach the office on time. So I know it's a silly example, but this is how these things work. Um, I am coming to this particular slide to let you see, like, the causal pathway. Like, if you if you can imagine a plant, a big plant, and I don't know how many of you have seen really the roots underneath the soil, like it's widespread. It's really widespread. It's phenomenal, at least for many plants, many trees. So the effect, the fruits, the leaves that you see on top, like the effects, these are not that many. And the code problem needs to be identified. It is the foremost important thing. And then basically, if you have the code problem, then you can really determine the primary causes and the secondary causes, And if the code problem will be eliminated, you will have the primary effect and secondary effect. My point is something like, when you will be analyzing the code problem, or you will be deep diving into the analysis of identifying the primary causes to a certain problem, you need to involve the targeted community with whom you will be working in the coming days, because their input will be very, very important, essential, and this should be the standard practice, to involve the community to know their problem. The problem will not be identified by a development practitioner, rather it will be determined and identified by the dwellers of that particular community. Give me a second, because I see there is a message on the chat box, maybe something for
Yeah, I'm
me.
just giving a background on what you're saying, that this is an important process before creating the logic model. And you might have other analyses.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you might have other analyses like gender analysis and power dynamics and those types of things as well that you would go.
Okay, yeah, right. So I'm not going to get into further detail of this, but I just want all of you to know about this particular picture, that the tree, so that you will know how the term, the root cause analysis comes from. And when I'm so hopeful that you will be a development practitioner and you will have a role to play in the coming days. And then you need to keep this in mind, that without the involvement of the stakeholders or the beneficiaries of the project, no project will be basically successful. That is the end line and the truth. So I just want to tell you about the community-led approach towards development, like, how this really works. So these are like the planning, the process, the presentation, and from you know what, when we are saying planning, we are saying planning with the communities. When we are saying the process, making the process, the resource and timing, the methodology, the facilitators, everything that will have to be involved the community there, and all the findings that you are really noting down will have to be presented. And based on the input from the community, you will have to make the promises. When I'm saying the promises, please translate it to the proposal. Like, these are the proposed changes, proposed activities. This is how we'll be tracking. When I'm saying tracking, I'm basically saying about monitoring. So these are something like, all these things when will be done with the participation of the community people, then basically you will be able to say that yes, this particular project has been designed with the bottom-up approach. That is the bottom of the pyramid, the community people, they basically participate. They basically, like, you will be the facilitator and they will be the leader in the session, where they will be leading. How they'll be leading, I'll be showing you, like, very shortly. It's a hand-drawn something. Consider this, like, it's on the bottom of this particular hand-drawn map, you are seeing there is Naf River. So it is an example taken from, I don't know how many of you have heard about the Rohingya refugee crisis from Myanmar to Bangladesh. Like now we are hosting around 1.8 million Rohingya people in Bangladesh. They, due to some crisis, they had to come to Bangladesh to save their lives. So this is the Naf River. Here you are seeing that uh, there are houses, hillocks, the roads, tube wells, pond, mosque, madrasa. Madrasa is like, Muslim elementary school. Then well, then the temples, these kind of things are marked here. Uh, why it is like this? It is a community drawn map which is showing the existing facilities in that particular community. How many mosques are there, how many temples are there, how many tubewells are there, how many growth centers or the marketplaces are there, you know, what other amenities will be available there. Everything through this mapping will be drawn. And basically, before drawing this, the word that I have mentioned here is about transact walk. What is a transact walk? Transact walk is something like uh, whenever you will be planning a particular development initiative for a community, it is always better to initiate a diagonal walk. It's a physical walk from one corner to another corner that will enable you to talk with most of the type of the dwellers there. That will let you see the facilities those are existing there, whether they are still usable. Like they have drawn here tube wells in a detailed mapping. What is a tube well? Sorry, I need to tell you, like Dr. Tanner knows, like tube well is something like this is the drinking water facility. You need to, there is a handlebar you are seeing. They need to push it, then the water will coming up. It's a, it's groundwater. So the groundwater will be coming up through this plunger. We call it tube well in this part of the world. So this is the most common source of drinking water for most of the people. If it is not working, then it's the problem that the community people, they don't have the drinking water. So you need to ensure access to drinking water for the community people. So a detailed map will be coming up, later when we'll be working with this. Oh, you have borehole. Okay, thanks, Dr. Tanner. Okay, so this transact walk and social mapping things will bring together the community, where automatically the leaders of the community will be coming to you to give their opinion on particular facilities. When you will be talking about different problems, don't do it. I don't have a slide for this, but I had a great training I received somewhere. It's called appreciative inquiry. AI, it's not artificial intelligence. It's called appreciative inquiry. Maybe will not lead people with a negative findings or a problem. Rather, instead of saying that the community is illiterate, maybe it sounds a bit harsh. What will be appreciative inquiry? Appreciative inquiry is a different style to conduct quantitative research, a qualitative research. So in the qualitative research, if you come up in a way that, educated people are a resource for any community, what do you think? Then it will be the social leaders there. They will be coming up. Yes, we know it very well, but what we'll be doing? Like we don't have enough work and we cannot really pay for the school. So we cannot send the kids to the school. We are rather sending the kids to a factory to do some hazardous work and things. So you see, so you have just said, appreciative inquiry is something like you have thrown something very positive. but the community will start feeling okay, and my community couldn't really embrace this positivity because of this problem. You see, this is the style to really, move into the fact. However, I really need to, I'm talking about community a bit too much. Um, when we are talking about community, we also need to uh, move our concentration to the fact of stakeholders. Of course, the major stake for any project are the beneficiaries of the project, undoubtedly. But when you will be coming to a part of the world like India or Bangladesh or Nepal, like there is a setup of local government. The local government body is too much influential, and they really do want to participate in all the development initiative in that vicinity. I want to recall one of Dr. Tanner's pilot initiative. When I'm saying pilot, that means it came out from the big program RMP, and we used to call it FCUP, EFCUP. It was for enhancing financial capabilities of the Union Porishad. Union Porishad, or in short form you call it UP in Bangladesh, is the bottom tier of the local government system. So what we identified during that time is something like the local government didn't have enough financial capabilities to really initiate development ventures by themselves. They always need to look for the central government to receive fund on development, or NGOs or INGOs to go to their vicinity to solve their predetermined problems, not like the problems that they think as a core problem for their community. So FCUP pilot initiative was a great thing, where we basically tried to give loan to the Union Porishad, that is the local government bodies, so that they can start a venture which will generate income for them every month, and that income they will be using for their community development, something like that. So why I'm saying this is something like, on the left hand side you are saying a matrix where there are only 4 cells. Horizontally we are trying to express the level of interest, and vertically we are trying to show the influence of power. Okay, so the top row, top left cell is saying that high influence, because influence is going higher, and low interest. So when you will be going into a community, like I'm probably moving a bit fast because time is a constraint, but you are there, and you can anytime raise your hand and ask me any question, but please try to get this particular matrix. It will be useful. So you need to really identify all the stakeholders. Like when you design a project, you will know what is a stakeholder, like who are relevant, who will be a part of this project, maybe for the procurement, maybe for financial management, maybe you will be subgranting to some training providers, maybe you will be working with fisheries community, maybe you will be working with sort of agriculture, like farmers community. There are so many communities involved. There are so many, like I have talked about the local government bodies. I have talked about NGOs, various other NGOs even in that vicinity. So all of them you will be taking there in this matrix, and you need to place each of them based on the merit of their interest and the merit of the power. You need to put all of them into the right box. There are 4 boxes, right? Then what will happen? Then basically you will know, like who will be the key players, who are the major stakes for the project, that you will know. And you will also know whom you need to basically show consideration to, whom you think like they are least important for the project. This is how you will be determining the interest of those various groups. that groups, I am calling them here stakeholders, but largely they will be your community people. Okay?
Is everybody okay
So
with that so far? I'll just double check that everybody got that. So this is a really crucial step, what he's saying in terms of engaging stakeholders in the community. You don't just engage everybody, but you have to sort of do an analysis first to see where you can best spend your resources and your time to make sure you're engaging the right people. Is that any questions on that before we go on? We're good? Okay. Sorry for the interruption. Go ahead.
it's perfectly all right, and I would be really happy if I could have some question from you, sincerely. But probably time is a constraint, so let us move. No problem. Like you can come back always. So when we'll actually need them, the stakeholders or the community people, when actually you will need them in every sphere of the project, every sphere, and I mean it. And this is the utmost important thing, and I'm sure when Dr. Tanner will be continuing his lectures, he will put more emphasis on the involvement of your community people, consultation process, the stakeholders, because during the initial planning, I have told you earlier that it will be them who will be basically doing the stock taking. These are our problems. And this is how we think this can be solved. And those will have to be taken into consideration in a way so that they will feel absolute ownership to your project, so that it will no longer be your project, that will become their projects. And only then this project will be successful. During the intervention design, it is not that like you think they are malnourished, but you are thinking it is due to the vegetable that they are washing away the nutrients. But don't just put emphasis, all your emphasis there. Try to take things from the community, from your stakeholders, what they are thinking, why people are malnourished, what they think. And then you can basically establish the logical linkages with your findings, because you haven't gone there with the idea, because there are different sort of metadata analysis that basically let you direct that yes, this community is malnourished, and why? Because of this. But it will have to have linkages between your finding and the community's identification. So during the monitoring phase, you need to involve them. It is not that we will be saying, okay, we are progressing fine. Rather, it would be something like the community, they will have to determine, and there are approaches to involve the community people into the monitoring. Again, it will be a consultative process. During the final evaluation, midterm evaluation, you will have to involve. During the project closure, you need them the most, because they will carry the legacy of your project with them. So you need to orient them properly, even the closure period. So I have put these few lines to ensure that you will just take with you one thing, that is your community people will be an integral part of your project from the beginning to the end. That's everything that I want to put emphasis on this, community-led approaches. I want to quickly go through. Sorry, Dr. Tanner, could you tell me like how much time I do have with me?
So I'm going to give you a 10-minute warning in about 3 minutes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
13 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. So now I want to talk about basically two simple metrics. And these two simple metrics, it can be modified and it will be modified based on the Canadian practice, which Dr. Tanner will be helped by your own way. But the basics will remain the same. this is called the performance measurement framework. It could be a one-pager matrix, which basically can be a shorter version of your MEL Bible. To be very honest with you, it is something that if someone sees this document, the one pager, where you will have all your indicators written, and for those indicators, what is your data source, that will be written, how the data will be collected, that will be written, and what will be the frequency of data collection, that will be written, and who will be collecting the data, that will be written. So anyone, like even the most responsible MEL person, if he or she leave the organization, then there will be no problem, because this document is there and anybody new will be getting in, he or she, they will know basically what are their indicators to be monitored, when to be monitored, and who are the responsible person already there to really carry forward the monitoring activities. You see, so the statement in different spheres that you are seeing, again the same, the resource, the budget allocation, the money, the reach, the number of beneficiaries, output, what is the output statement that you have already defined, the outcome and impact level statement that we have already discussed. And I'm pretty much sure that when we'll be able to I can really propose, like in our breakout room, we discuss about the COVID situation, and you have said that you will be establishing one-stop crisis center from where people will be collecting the mask, the face shield, the gloves, everything. And then what will happen? The output will be something like they will not be exposed to COVID-19. They will not expose other to COVID-19. What will be the outcome? The number of incidents of positive cases will be reducing. You see, the statements like we are constructing, like I don't have a project on COVID-19, but I'm stating this because I'm going through this, probably that's why it's coming up. And what will be the impact? The impact will be death toll will be reducing to a certain level. You see, so if like you are not so many person here in the room, like you 6 and 7 person can really plan a particular project from now on, and you can start using this tool. Whenever you will be talking, you can particularly think about an idea. That idea is your dream project or something like that, which you will be portraying into various metrics that I have shown here. Then I really want to tell you, I'm sorry that it is early 90s Canadian CEDA document. Somehow I could get access to this, and I just cut these things, like the snipping tool. Using the snipping tool, I took this part from the doc and put it here. But this is really interesting, Dr. Tanner. You will be happy to see. Basically, this is the basic, like when we are talking about the resources, when we are talking resource, the immediate word to make a complete phrase will be resource mobilization. How? Through as an input, as activity, right? And this is about project delivery to the partners, through the partners. Then what do we want? That will basically give you the result statement. What do we want? That will give us the result statement. What are the result statement? These are output and outcomes. And why we want to basically, why do we want that, the result to be achieved? Why? To achieve certain level of impact. That's where I told you in the different phases of project that this, output group, like you need to be careful here. I'm sorry, I am drawing your attention because it is required. I'm talking about the intermediate groups, the beneficiaries, and society. I'm referring to the left-hand side picture, the row at the bottom, where it is written under the 3 red arrows: intermediate groups, beneficiaries, and society. How you will be putting a demarcation line among these three particular groups. So again, let us go back to the vegetable intervention. You are providing training to 200 households. So all those 200 households, they are into your intermediate groups who are receiving the training. And the beneficiaries whom you basically are constantly monitoring to check on their behavioral change are your beneficiaries. They are under intensive care, and you are monitoring them to check on the outcomes, whether at all the behavioral changes taken place there. Then impact that will not basically talking about the intermediate groups or the beneficiaries, rather your impact of intervention will be on the society as a whole. So the malnourished society will be improving their nutrition status for your intervention. These are the things that you need to keep in mind to segregate your ideas on outputs, outcomes, and impact. And the later figure, what you are seeing is something like, you have certain level of activity set, like let's just consider again the vegetable. The activity set is basically for a particular region, particular sector. When I'm saying particular sector means like health is a programming sector, education is a programming sector, agriculture is a programming sector. So which sector? Then target groups. Who are your target groups? Is it the adolescent kids only, or it is the entire household? You need to determine that. And what will be the gender ratio, what percentage of them are male and what percentage of them are female, that your intervention will be utilizing the resource of project. Then how many percentage are children in that particular community, that you'll have to track through your monitoring. So all this set of activities will let you achieve certain level of outputs. That outputs will be helping you to achieve your outcome, and at the end to the impact, which will basically change the society. I don't know whether the text is for me. 5 minutes, 3 minutes.
Just giving a countdown.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry to rush you. Yeah, just letting you know we have about 3 minutes.
Okay. So I'm so sorry again that my time estimation was poor, and I'm so sorry for that. Anyways, so work breakdown structure, basically the point where you will be completing your performance measurement framework. From there, basically the work breakdown structure will be taking place, and that will mostly be dealing with the activity, that will be the activity, and the resource, that's the finance, that you will be planning through these particular metrics. That's why I have written on top row outcome, output, and activities. And that is basically allowing you to reach to a short-term result. Okay, so you need to identify in the left-hand side column the short-term result. Then you need to identify your activities to achieve the short-term result. Then you need to write here the resource allocation in the third column. And you need to identify the responsible person to carry out the activity or intervention that you have designed to achieve certain short-term result through your set of activities. So that will be your work breakdown structure. And it is just my 2 hours time that is suggesting me for this break, but I'll not really go further.
Thank you so much, Mr. Siddique. For
my screen is still visible, Dr. Tanner?
No, you've taken it off. It's okay. It's gone. I wanted to just interrupt here just to see, before we leave this evening, if anyone has any burning questions that they would like to ask before we let him go. Any questions on what we've covered tonight? Anything you're curious about, or? Like I said, this is your big opportunity. He's going to be probably in bed for the next 2 weeks. No? Okay. Well, if there aren't any questions, Mr. Siddique, I want to thank you again for taking us through this important part of project management. And especially given, you know, the time of day that you've had to present this, and that the fact that you and your wife have COVID, really, it was a really awesome introduction to so many tools and methods. And there's so much in this field, guys, and, you know, it's impossible to cover everything in detail. I often try to let you go early, but, you know, we both love this sector, Mr. Siddique and I, we tend to talk and talk and talk. But you've covered tonight some really important areas that are frequently used in international development. And I know that our young leaders here are really going to benefit from what you've shared with us tonight. Guys, before we go, I just want to point out that in developing countries like Bangladesh, where Mr. Siddique is from, this plague of COVID can be devastating for so many. You know, you have a place where clean water is scarce, nutrition is poor. It's a difficult place to access health services at the best of times, especially if you go into the rural areas of Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a densely populated country, I'm sure you know, and it has a lot of pockets of very, very vulnerable people. And some of those people are the Rohingya refugees that he mentioned earlier. So I just want to say that we really pray for your country. And we wish you and your family, Mr. Siddique, a speedy recovery from this COVID. And I want to thank you on behalf of the class for joining us this evening. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry, I just have one question. I just was trying to find it in my papers. Am I okay to ask, or are we out of time?
I've already had the last word, so no.
No,
no, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was, okay, thank you. I was just wondering from either of you, in terms of the theories of change, just that quote that said, theories of change are nice to have, but not a must-have. Would you say that that's a widely accepted opinion or perspective in the developing, like international development, you know, from NGOs? Would you say that's a widely accepted statement?
If I take the question, that statement basically I copied from services like USAID's innovation question. So my point is something like, whenever you will be going out to construct your logical framework, you need to have a detailed analysis. And this particular process is the easiest way because it uses our everyday life statement kind of a thing to really see the problem in an easier way, in a step-by-step approach. So it is really good to be practiced to construct your next tool. It could be a log frame, it could be a problem tree. So based on your requirement, if you follow this particular tool, it will help you. It will help you. Awesome. But it is not guided. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if you look at Global Affairs Canada, they'll take a slightly different view, but they tend to put it as a mandatory piece of proposals. So if you look at their guidelines for submitting proposals for funding, they request you to have a theory of change which outlines and describes your logic model. So basically takes all those tiers that Mr. Siddique outlined for us and says, build a narrative that explains how you're going to go from activities to a behavioral change position. So, you know, you get sort of differences between donors in that way. Yeah. Great question, though.
Exactly.
Yeah, really good question. Okay. Anything else, guys, before we go? Perfect. Okay. Well,
Dr. Tanner, I just wanted to talk to you just for 1 minute.
Go ahead, Josh.
After the class.
Sure. No problem at all. I was just going to say, guys, you have your assignment due for tomorrow on the footbridge concept note. So if you have any questions in the meantime, if you can't get into that folder tomorrow, because I think somebody mentioned I may have a date put in there that locks it today, I'll just double check after this meeting just to make sure that it's open. And then hit me up at my office hours tomorrow at 2 o'clock if you have any questions. And you have till the end of the day, so till midnight tomorrow night, let's say. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Siddique. And yeah, stay on, Josh. We can have a quick chat. Good night, everybody.
Thank
See you
you.
next week.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you so much.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dr. Tanner, my question was actually about that, about the assignment.
Okay.
I was wondering, I was like, wasn't it due on Friday? But then I saw
Yeah.
on the Moodle pages that it was due at on Thursday, 12 a.m.
Yeah, it's again, it gives the teacher side, it gives the Moodle gives like so many options. It says, when do you want it submitted? When do you have the cutoff? I must have somehow reversed those or something. So I'll go back and make sure that it's open for you to submit. And again, if you have a problem submitting, just email it to me and that's fine.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah,
So
we'll sort it out.
the assignment is, I just need to basically create a proposal, a project proposal.
Concept note, yeah.
Concept note.
It's a
Okay.
concept.
Yeah, right. The note. Okay.
Yeah. So you don't, you got a lot of details today and last week, but you don't, have to go really into detail. But basically, it's like a pitch. Dragon's Den on TV.
Yeah, right.
So it's kind of like that. You're going to make a pitch using some of the concepts we've been talking about, and convince me if it's worth funding or not for your project.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Fantastic. Have a great night, Josh. See you.
All right. Thanks. You too. Have a good one.
Bye bye.